So when I asked them that question, what's the most important thing to you and as a real estate agent, right? I'm writing down and I'm putting into parentheses what this guy's saying. So this was 2 days ago, a conversation I had, right? One less headache to deal with. He does not want to leave them hanging. Those are his words, not mine. So when I was talking to this guy this morning, you know what I said to him? I said, you know, this is going to be one less headache for you guys to have to deal with, and I know we're not going to leave your tenants hanging. And I didn't say that one after another, right? But both those phrases came out of my mouth in the conversation with him today. And when I said one less headache for you to deal with, you know what he says? Oh my gosh, you were so right. Yes, Dan.
Yeah, because it shows us you're listening.
He don't know that I was listening. It's his words that I'm calling back. In a million years, he wouldn't know that was his phrase. And yeah, you're right. Back here, it shows him I'm listening subconsciously. 100%. Consciously, he'll never recognize what I did. Okay, so that's why you're doing the intake. You're writing down colloquial phrases, particularly ones that you wouldn't say. Like, I would never say one less headache to deal with. I would never say, what was the other one? He doesn't want to leave them hanging. I don't think I would. Those are pretty unique phrases.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking to them, you got to talk to them in their language. So that was 2 days ago. I wrote down quotation marks around those phrases, and now I'm repeating it back to them.
Yeah, that's active listening.
Yes, active listening. So then I would go through on the listing, and I would show them different homes, and I would say, how does your home compare to this? And they would tell me how their home compares to it. And then I would sit there and say, you know, like the gentleman earlier today, he wanted to list his property at $355. And let me show you something. This property right here is I'm sorry, $450, not $350. This is the exact model of what he has. And I'm showing him this listing, and the kitchen hasn't been updated in 45 years. The basement's not finished. The carpets haven't been replaced. It's bad. All right. That's not a marketing description. And so as I'm going through this property, I'll go through it really, really quickly, right? You guys can see what this is. Like, this is relatively updated. You know, not Mac Daddy, right? But hey, relatively updated for what it is. He wants $450. This sold for $455. He knows what his property looks like, and he's looking at this. Can he really justify $450? And he keeps asking me, he said, well, what would it take for me to get up to $450? I said, about $50,000. Okay, which puts it below $400 on the pricing. So you utilize, but I'm not telling him that. I didn't tell him. I didn't even say. Here's the way he was like, oh, okay, huh. That was my pricing conversation with him. I didn't tell him a price. I showed it to him. Right? Like a dog of a property that he has, and here's a good plus property, not a great property, a decent property. How does yours compare to this? It doesn't. And you want to get $450? Well, I don't know. What do you think, Dan? Well, it would take about, what do you think it would take for us to get yours into this condition? What would we have to get? New roof, and he says it. I'm asking him the questions. New roof, new kitchen, new baths, finished basement, new windows, painting the exterior, landscaping outside, need to add a deck onto the back of it, need to add an addition to the back of it, a couple other things. Huh. What do you think that would all cost you? I have no idea. What do you think, Dan? I don't know. It sounds about 50 grand. Does that sound about right to you? Yeah. Again, I haven't set a price. Okay, it's about asking the questions and demonstrating to them so that they make a smart decision. It's really, really hard for somebody to look at that and say, yeah, mine's the same price. Now, it's happened before. I've had people do that before, right? I'm not saying this is perfect, right? It's just hard when you do this well. So going back to all this is going through and interpreting all that data to the gentleman, and I just showed you most of what I did, which is sell myself before I get to the appointment as the expert, then on the appointment, be in rapport, ask adept questions, actively listen, and consult. Then the gentleman that I was talking to earlier says, there's no way I'm hiring my local agent in Woodbridge that I would hire to sell my house, because you know this market better than he ever would, and you know this market inside out. He literally said that to me. But then I demonstrated to you guys, in that zip code, I've sold 9 in the last 13 years, and in Woodbridge, I've sold 43 in the last 13 years for listings, not buyers. So literally, the opposite is true than what his perception is. All right, what questions do you guys have? I went through that lightning fast, and I apologize for that. I just wanted to make sure I got in as much as I could.
I don't have any questions. I just wrote down my note, rewatch number 18 of CPI 5 or 6 times to try and absorb all this.
Yeah, rewatch this.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, you just unpacked a huge amount there. I mean, I've reread that chapter probably 10 times. And I mean, you answered so many questions walking through that. And I don't know. I don't even have follow-up questions yet.
We'll get you on number 19.
Yeah.
All right. Who has questions?
No questions. I just love that you asked him questions. You made no assumptions. You let him lead himself. And by extension, you. I love that.
Yeah. It's giving the perceived control to the other. So there's 2 ways to, and this is in the real estate evolution as well. You may recall when I say this, you can dominate a conversation or you can control a conversation. Who knows what's the difference? What do you do to dominate? What do you do to control?
To control, you ask questions. To dominate, you talk.
Right. The natural instinct for many, many agents is to dominate, not control. And in fact, real estate trainers, they teach, say this, say that, say this. I do believe you need to know what to say, but I more strongly believe you need to know what to ask. You need to know how to listen.
Yes.
It's about asking the right question. And if you look at the process that I do, I never actually actively sell myself, by the way. If I'm at the appointment and somebody says, why should I hire you? I made a mistake. I missed something along the way. I should never hear that question, why should I hire you, at the appointment.
Yes, too late.
So I am curious though, because I assume I'm going to stumble a time or two and I'm going to hear that question. How are you going to handle it? Do you just refer back to the materials that you sent prior to? Or
it's going to depend on who I'm talking to. Yeah, I'm going to answer in their language, same as anything else.